For the People with Lou Ismay.
About 50 years ago, there were some interesting things happening. One, an expert faculty member from the University of Chicago had a theory. His theory had to do with economics, and it consisted of something very, very simple. Corporations have only one responsibility. The responsibility of a corporation is to create profits. Nothing else matters. The community, ethics, or anything else, profit is the number one thing. At the same time, and this is about 50 years ago, there was the environmental movement that began. People looking around saying, hey, what's wrong here? Many of the people who raised the questions were women who understood their communities and kept in touch with one another. So the environmental movement started. Now, 50 years later, what kind of a situation do we have? Corporations rule the world. Profit is still very, very important. But look at the world from a planetary position. The planet is our home. What condition is it in? There's a rule of nature. We are all connected. It's called the web of life. It includes spiders and bacteria and viruses and people and trees and plants and all living things. What is the condition? Seriously wrong, isn't it? Some real problems. This was an old saying years ago. Women are girls growing up. Say that to a woman, say it to some of the girls, and they'll nod their heads yes. Boys are men grown tall. Boys play games, men play games. Sometimes the game is warfare, sometimes it's for profit, but all kinds of things that men get involved with are frequently games. Now there's another factor involved. There was a saying amongst the people who sold life insurance years ago. At or about 35, men began to think of the future. At or about 35. What's going on? Men's brains, all of our brains, men and women, don't mature at the same rate. Men's brains usually mature about 30, 35, somewhere in there. That means that it takes that long for the brain to mature enough so they can think about the effects of what they do. Whatever the people do, there's an effect on this. Women mature a little bit earlier, late 20s, some of them even in high school. But there is a difference. Women are wired differently than men. That's nature. We're not going to be able to change any of that. But the idea is that women very, very frequently, and we're finding that to be true, look at their communities and their neighbors and their friends and say, why so much illness? Why so many people coughing? Whatever it is, they're more aware than the rest of us. So, is there some hope in this? Well, possibly. If we look at some of the information regarding pollution, toxic substances, we will find that frequently it's a woman, a mother, somebody, grandparent, who decides to look into the situation and, piecing things together, discovers where there are problems with the planet, with the community. So why go into all of this? Well, we've got some serious things happening, and we have to get the best minds possible to finding a solution. If we work together, that would be wonderful. But we have to learn to work together, because some of us have the idea that this is a free country and they think I can do whatever I want. It's not a free country. A democracy requires participation. It requires some sense about the future. Indigenous people know this. If you know any indigenous people, they sit around, they talk. They have the grandparents there, and the parents, and the young people, and middle-aged people, all working on a problem. And when they all agree on something, they call it, we are of one mind. That means they've talked it over, they've thought about it, and they're thinking maybe 7 generations into the future. What are we deciding now, and what might the effects be on our grandchildren or great-grandchildren? Could we adopt some of that to think about how we can change our planet or improve it or whatever we have to do? And when will we start? Now, one other thing. It seems that every single important thing in the community has been decided and worked on by a group of women. Health, culture, education, all things that are important, the arts, the culture. Some group gets together and says, we need this. We need this. Not that they want, we need. And the word need is really the key to it. So what do we need in our communities that will help to stop the confusion regarding climate change? What do we need to do about making the communities and the planet healthier? How are we going to do this? Many questions. Think about it. Fight for what is right and true. And pay attention.